Rogers TV.
Welcome to Out of the Fog. I am your host, Lori-Lydia Loveless, all the way from Seal Cove, Fortune Bay. Tonight we have an excellent episode for you. First we have Minister Steve Crocker with the tourism industry, and then we have Joe O'Brien with O'Brien's Boat Tours to talk about all the fun things that they are doing as well. And we'll be right back after this break. And welcome back. Today we're here with the Honourable Steve Crocker, Minister of Tourism, Culture, Arts and Recreation. So Minister, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for the invitation to be here, Lori.
And of course, we wanted to get into, is the upcoming peak of the tourism industry here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And we want to get into some of the important points to talk about that as well. So Minister, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role specifically?
Well, yeah, so I'm the MHA for the District of Carbonear, Trinity Bay to Verde. I was elected in the fall of 2014, so almost 10 years. I've been tourism minister since the spring of 2021, so it's a very exciting portfolio. It includes a lot of great things, and not only tourism but arts and culture as well, and sport. So it's a great portfolio.
That's great. And of course, we're approaching the peak industry tourism season. So we wanted to get into some questions that a lot of our viewers would have regarding Airbnbs and short-term rentals. So, there was a new restriction that was put into place at the end of March, but that's now extended till June. Is that correct?
Yeah. So March 31st of 2023, we proclaimed the new Tourism Accommodation Act. And this was a modernization of an act that had been in place for many, many years. And this was about how times have changed in tourism. We now see the emergence and the primary, the vast majority of bookings now are actually done online, and lots of times they're done through the platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com. So there's many of these ways now that people actually book accommodations, view accommodations, look for recommendations. So we needed to modernize our act to address the changing times.
So with the changes that are coming into effect, will this affect both the consumer and the owners as well?
It will, because this will give the consumer a degree of more confidence. Because first and foremost, we have to make sure that when a consumer books, an accommodation in Newfoundland and Labrador, first and foremost, they're booking somewhere that's safe. Safety is utmost importance, and we've seen that, throughout the country. We've seen tragedy last year in Quebec. And we need to make sure that that level of confidence is there. And it also puts an onus back on the platforms themselves to actually share with us their information. Because a year ago when we started this process at Newfoundland Labrador Tourism.com, we had 700 registered accommodators in Newfoundland and Labrador. As of last week, we now have over 2,600.
Wow.
So obviously our number of operators were out there, but they weren't registered with the province, so we didn't know they were there. A lot of lenses weren't applied. Now the proper lenses will be applied, and that's something that we heard from the industry from quite some time, that through Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador, that they wanted a level playing field. They wanted anybody who's selling an accommodation or renting an accommodation in Newfoundland and Labrador to actually be listed and registered.
So I know when you're registered, you get a PIN from the government, and is that with every separate entity, or do you get one PIN per one account?
So you get one for every account that you want to list on a platform. So we look at it as a license plate. So what it does with the regulations now, if you are an accommodator here in this province, if you do not have that number by June the 30th, with a little bit of more grace time for people who rent in their primary residence, but if you do not have that number by June 30th now, you will no longer be allowed to list on any of the booking platforms. So that way, we now know who are actually accommodators in our province. It does a lot for our quality assurance, and it frees up that much more space for a department like ours to make sure that we're doing a study now on quality of accommodations, and this gives us a great opportunity to see what it is we have.
And putting out reviews and that sort of thing is super essential for this industry.
It really is. As the industry has evolved, most people watching the show today would see, would remember Canada Select. We don't do Canada Select anymore because all these platforms have reviews, and that's how people get their information now. And there's so many more modern things that come with these platforms. So many filters. You can do all 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. So it's a great way. It's the way the world has come, and we need to embrace that.
And of course, when it comes to Airbnbs and short-term rentals, there is an occupancy tax that's separate from our HST. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah,
that's a bit of work that we still have left to do. The City of St. John's does that today. They have their occupancy, their hospitality tax, and that's normal. You travel pretty much anywhere in the world and you find that. And I think it's important, but it's also important that that money goes back to the tourism and hospitality industry. And one of the challenges, and we're working with the Department of Municipal Affairs, Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, and Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador, to find a way that we can do that province-wide. But it's not realistic to think that we could have 260 plus municipalities with an individual tax rate, and we cannot, it would also not be fair to put the onus on the platforms to actually collect and remit to 260 plus different accounts. So we're going to work with our partners on that to find a way that we can make it work for everybody.
That's great. And so with regards to the pipeline, the future for Airbnbs and short-term rentals, what do you feel it will be here in the province?
Well, I think this is something that has evolved really, really, really quickly. If you think about, Airbnb as an example, that really started off as practically couch surfing in a lot of ways. People would, rent a couch or rent a room, and it's evolved into some really stellar accommodators, and I think that's what will happen. It's how people get their information. It's how they book a room now. Or one of the first things people will do is go to a platform and find that accommodation that they're looking for that suits them.
And it seems like it's on the rise here, which is great to see as well.
Absolutely, and I think one of the important things about Airbnb and Vrbo and the others is, in lots of cases, and representing a rural part of the province, we didn't have accommodators. Lots of places in our province, lots of small rural communities, didn't have accommodations to actually get into the tourism and hospitality market. But this opens up so many more different places around our province for people to explore, and so that I think is really one of the major benefits to the booking platforms.
That's great. And so promotion and marketing is super essential for the tourism industry. So what is the provincial government doing to ensure that the marketing efforts are being made?
Yeah, well, we invest around $13 million every year into marketing, and that would be everything from our television ads right down to our staff that regularly attend trade shows around the world. It's extremely important. This past budget committed again that number of $13 million, but it also we've also committed this year up to $3.75 million in development of air access and partnerships around air access. One of the things we know, one of the greatest challenges that we have as a province when it comes to our tourism and hospitality industry is we peak in July and August, and quite honestly, in a lot of cases in July and August, we're actually at capacity. Whether it's airline seats, Marine Atlantic capacity, rental car capacity, we get at capacities, hotel rooms. It's building that season, it's extending that season into September, October, November, May, June. It's that helps in so many ways. It helps our accommodators. You know, we often look at the challenges around rental cars, and the rental cars companies tell us that, like, yeah, because it's really tough for us to build a fleet that that there's an intensity in July and August. So as we build out into, shoulder seasons, we'll also see fleets like that actually expand as well.
So it's good to know that you are accommodating for those slower times where revenue is not generating the same way and that sort of thing.
Absolutely, and our operators, every single operator would tell you that, we need to make that season that much longer because that's what makes their business profitable.
Great. And so speaking of marketing and promotion, so there was recently a commercial that was put by Verbo, of course, using a beloved Newfoundland Labrador folk song, Eyes of Eyes, in their promotions in a more negative connotation. So Minister, can you tell us a little bit about the response that the province had and how we went about that?
Absolutely. Our initial response was one of very much, dissatisfied. We reached out quickly to the platform and really explained to them, and I would say educated them in what they had done. But then, kudos to our marketing agency, Target, here in St. John's. They reached out and they said, well, let's take a different spin on this. This ad was just seen on Super Bowl Sunday. So let's take that piece and now let's do what this ad should have been and market it. And we did, and we got a tremendous response to that just turnaround of taking what was a negative, no doubt about it, but turning it into a positive and really showing what Newfoundland and Labrador is.
I's the boys that builds a boat, I's the boys that sails her, and I's the boys that catches the fish, brings them home to Liza. Hip your partner Sally LeBeau, hip your partner Sally Brown, Fogle, Twillingate, Morton's Harbour, all around the circle.
So speaking about all of that, the film and television industry has been booming here in the province, and we've seen some great, productions like Hudson and Rex, Son of the Critch, Aquaman, and even Peter Pan and Wendy. So are you able to tell us if there's anything, with major production companies in the pipeline for the near future? One
of the interesting things I've learned about the film and television industry, they don't want us to talk about what they're doing until they've packed up and left.
That's fair.
And we respect that. And that's what makes us, we've heard response from that industry that one of the reasons they like coming here is because the level of respect that they're shown by Newfoundlanders and Labradorians as they do their business. I can tell you that, this will be the best year ever for film and television in Newfoundland and Labrador. 4 series this summer shooting, some feature location shoots happening, 1,200 plus people now, FTEs in that industry. It's growing. People say to me sometimes that government invests heavily in this industry. Absolutely, because this industry not only promotes that film and television industry, it's so important to our arts and culture and tourism, because there's so much residual tourism value in film and television. You mentioned Peter Pan and Wendy, and we've when we go to tourism shows now, we actually draw a reference to the fact that that part of Bonavista was Neverland in a Disney film. So we still have people coming to this city dating back to Republic of Doyle, looking for the bar that was used in that show. Just last summer, my colleagues were here for my ministerial colleagues were here for a conference, and one of the gentlemen, the first thing he wanted to do was go to the police station from Hudson and Rex. So he did.
Yeah.
So he went on campus and did just that. So it portrays the beauty of Newfoundland and Labrador, the landscapes and everything so well.
Yes, and it's so nice when you're watching the film, you're like, oh, I know that,
Absolutely.
And be familiar with it.
And when people ask those questions from around the world, where was that filmed? And film tourism is a huge industry, and one that we're actually really young getting into, really new to that part of tourism. But there are a lot of jurisdictions around the world that when you go on their website, one of the first buttons you see is films shot here or film locations, because we all can draw ourselves to something we've seen on the screen.
That's right. And so that brings us to the last point I want to talk about is the 2025 Summer Games. So can you tell us a little bit about the team that you've announced?
Yeah, so obviously as a province, and as a department, our responsibility there is really to the athletes, Team NL. So Team NL is building out through the different sports organizations throughout the province. We have our chefs in place, tremendous amount of experience there. We're looking forward to what will be a very exciting summer here in St. John's. First time since 1977.
I saw that. Yeah.
Almost 5,000 athletes and coaches here. This city will be extremely busy next summer, and it'll leave a lot of legacy, whether it's the new track and field facility, a new tennis facility, or full revitalization of the current tennis facility, improvements of the Aqua Arena, which was built for 77, and now it's getting a new lease on life. So it'll leave a lot, and it'll inspire a lot of young Newfoundlanders and Labradorians to want to become a part of Team Newfoundland and Labrador and, aspire to get to the Canada Summer Games.
And is there any other advice that you want to give to anyone for the upcoming tourism season? Well,
I would ask anybody out there that's looking to come to our province this summer or even travel within the province this summer, we're expecting a banner year. We are expecting numbers back to probably what would have been our best year on record was 2016. We're expecting to surpass that this year. Every indication is that on the West Coast at Deer Lake Airport, flight bookings and seats are up over 30% of 2019 capacity, 25% capacity increase here in St. John's this summer. We're expecting a very busy summer. I hope everybody gets a chance to get out and enjoy it. And we're also this summer celebrating the 75th anniversary of Confederation, so we'll be having events throughout the province to celebrate that. And can't forget to mention that this is Year of the Arts, and there's nothing more exciting in Newfoundland and Labrador and more important to our fabric than our arts, and this will be a celebration of our artists this summer as well.
That's great. And Minister Crocker, thank you so much. You're doing incredible things for our province, and we're so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. And we'll be right back after this break. And welcome back. Today we're with Joe O'Brien, co-owner and operator of O'Brien's Boat Tours. So Joe, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous, and how are you doing?
Excellent, excellent.
So Joe, you've been doing this for many, many years. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Okay, my name is Joe O'Brien. We've been doing this for 40 years. Myself and my brother Loyola. We started our company in 1985, and we started taking people out to see the puffins and the seabirds, and a lot of people really thought puffins and seabirds were delicious.
And are they delicious?
They are, because we have a species of bird flies in there into the colony called the common murre, but Newfoundlanders know it as delicious. It's called a tur.
Oh, I've had tur in my time.
You've had tur?
I've had tur. I'm from the Bay, and tur was a delicacy.
Well, tur was more impressionable than turkey, because 10 little turs in the freezer was worth all the little turs in the Bay.
Yes, I imagine.
So these are rather unique little seabirds because they're only found in certain areas on the planet, usually in the high Arctic for the common murre, and the puffin lives far out at sea and only comes to rookeries like we have at the Witless Bay Reserve. And there's like 4.5 million breeding birds.
Wow.
So there's a 100% chance that if you open your mouth when you look up, there could be trouble.
Not good trouble.
Well, they say it's good luck.
I've heard that, actually. That happened to me one time. I hope it was good luck. So.
Well, it's good luck because you're looking good right now.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Joe. So tell us a little bit about your services and what you offer to the public.
So we run, we have 4 vessels, 2 smaller vessels, 12 passenger vessels that do coastal adventure, and then we have a 100 passenger and an 85 passenger boat that have heated cabins and all around viewing, and they're really good for whale watching, and they're just comfortable vessels because the bird colony from Bay Bulls is 30 minutes away, and it's a sheltered island, so we always find spots to go that it's really easy for people to enjoy the experience. And having tens of thousands of birds flying over your head when you only wanted to see a puffin, it multiplies your experience 100-fold for excitement, and that's what the people really like.
So do you get a lot of, well, I imagine you get a lot of Newfoundlanders who use your services, but do you get, international people that come out to see the whales and the puffins as well?
Well, bird watching is one of the biggest hobbies on the planet, and for bird watchers, the type of bird we're offering, it's very few places on the planet you can get to see those. So it becomes a lister for a lot of people. We see like a hagdown, we call it a hagdown, but it's called a greater shearwater. That flies along, and that bird is like the Arctic tern. He flies from pole to pole practically. So the hagdowns come from, sooty shearwaters come from New Zealand, all the way up over the Grand Banks and the continental shelf of Newfoundland and Labrador. So we have quite a lot of variety of rare birds, and for a bird watcher, that's a big deal because they'll take long times and do a lot of research in what they want to see. And whale watching is a new phenomenon, and thanks to changing in the environment, we got electronics that you can take a picture of a video of a whale, and in 3 seconds you can share it with all your friends globally. And that's becoming a big new attraction, sharing and posting pictures and doing selfies. So we had an event a few years back where ladies were celebrating their birthday, and they were kind of giving me the gears a little bit about making the whale do tricks, and I thought you were Dr. Doolittle, and I was like, not really. And anyway, so giving me the gears, the whale jumped up through her video, through her head, and it was a double breach.
Oh,
and
wow.
It went viral.
Wow. And, I see you're always on social media promoting all the tours and stuff. So when is the season starting for you?
So we start from the 1st of May till the end of September, and we have like a peak period of time that from the first week in July till the last of August, there's a little fish in the water column called capelin, and that's the food for everything that lives in the water column that can get their mouth around it. And it feeds birds, whales, codfish, and the whales come in large numbers along the northeast coast, some 5,000 plus whales.
Wow.
And they feed on capelin. So you can shore watch for whales, you can hear the sounds of them, you can smell the breath going along in the air, and that becomes a great attraction because you're looking at a living dinosaur.
And, with whales, I've seen whales before, but I've never actually seen a puffin in real life.
So you're a Newfoundlander.
I'm a Newfoundlander born and bred.
And you haven't seen a puffin?
Not in real life, no. So I have to go on one of your tours.
You'll have to do a tour. You'll have to do a tour because we carry people from all over the planet, and they are so excited when they see their first puffin that, I don't know, we'll have to make sure you control yourself. Probably have to put a life jacket on you.
I was going to say, I get very excited, as you know. So, what other things can you expect to see on one of your tours? Because I know you said there are 2, right?
Yes, so our second tour is sort of a geological tour, and we were part of the inception of building the East Coast Trail, and one of the focal points of the East Coast Trail is a water geyser just north of Bay Bulls, between Bay Bulls and Petty Harbour, called a spout. But along that shore, given that the Avalon Peninsula has made up a part of Europe, the rock is very old and it's always evolving and eroding, so there's all things like waterfalls, the geyser blowing up, and giant caves where you can go in and look at them, and you can, make a wish on a dream, and we always let people use their imagination, and that sort of an adventure has really taken off because it's not very often you get to hang by a really harsh piece of coastline and learn about the geology and see it firsthand. It's sort of like going 3D into the geocenter.
So how do you prepare? Because I know sometimes you probably are doing your tours and have there been times that you haven't seen anything, or?
Well, you know, you're dealing with nature, so people understand you can only show what you've got and talk about what you see. So, you know, it's all really cool, because I had people come and say, I had no idea a jellyfish was the size of this little stool, and that the jellyfish was one of the earliest creatures to exist on our planet, and one of the longest living creatures to exist on our planet. And what is the purpose? Well, he feeds on phytoplankton, and then other things like leatherback turtles feed on them. Mola travel throughout the currents of the ocean and drifting over our area, and they feed on them. So there's a lot of things we didn't know about the ocean, because all we thought for a long time was catch the fish, salt the fish, eat the fish, and have fish tonight and fish tomorrow and fish every other day.
And so with the tourism industry, that's essential for your business and having that support for our province. So how has that been impacting for you?
Well, tourists are brand new money, and they're a repeat customer, and they're recyclable, because every time they come, they tell two friends to tell two friends, and it creates accommodation, it creates airline services, it creates food and beverage, it creates taxi services. I can go on and on and on. Your wardrobe is all impacted by it, your equipment you want to carry. So it's a big stimulator in the economy and creates a lot of jobs, a lot of positive spin-off with zero negative impact.
That's great, Joe. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I've learned a lot from your experiences.
Well, I'm going to look forward to seeing you on the boat.
You certainly will.
And I won't have a barf bag for you. That'll be a hat.
That'll be a hat. There you go.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we'll be right back after this break.
Your opinion matters, and we want to hear from you. Get in touch with us using our viewer feedback line, your direct connection to shaping the shows you love. It's easy. Just grab your phone, scan the QR code on your screen, and take our quick survey. Share your thoughts, and let's make your viewing experience even better.
What a fabulous show that was. It was so great to speak with Minister Crocker about the upcoming tourism sector in our province. And with Captain Joe with O'Brien's Boat Tours, I'm definitely taking him up and doing a tour so I can see my very first puffin. Until next time, much love.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
We want to hear from you. Provide feedback on this show or find out how you can get involved. Call, email us, or scan the QR code to take our quick survey.
It's been a long time coming.
You don't win it to keep it, you win it to be a part of its history.
Always knew.
Always hard to see the difference between